Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, get right to the core of complex topics. And today, we're plunging into something pretty fascinating. Teal organizations. Our mission really is to figure out what they are, why they seem so tough to actually implement, and maybe how some places are making them work.
Yeah, imagine a workplace that's not built on, the usual rigid hierarchy. Instead, think of it as an evolutionary organism.
Okay.
It's built on principles like self-management teams basically organizing themselves, no traditional bosses needed. Then there's wholeness, which is this idea you can bring your whole self to work, not just the professional mask.
Right.
And finally, an ever-evolving purpose. It's not static. It dynamically guides the whole organization. It really promises agility, trust, innovation.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. It definitely sounds like a revolution in how we work. But the big question is, if it promises all this great stuff, why isn't everyone doing it? Like, what are the immediate tripwire? We saw some early attempts, right? Like Zappos rolling out holacracy from the top down, holacracy being that specific framework, decentralizing authority with roles and circles. And famously, their voluntary turnover spiked, what was it, like 30% back in 2015?
Yeah, that's right. A huge number.
And reports suggested it was largely due to role ambiguity, people not knowing what they were supposed to do, and frankly, a lack of real support.
The support piece is key.
Which brings up this kind of paradox, doesn't it? If Teal is meant to be organic, self-organizing, how can you really engineer it top-down?
Exactly. That tension is crucial.
That seems to be where a lot of the resistance starts.
And what's really fascinating is that this resistance, it isn't just about, org charts and structures. It's psychological. Deeply psychological.
Also.
Well, it fundamentally challenges how we think about hierarchy, about power, about authority. For leaders, there's often this profound fear of losing control.
Right, the control aspect.
Yeah. For many, leadership is making the decisions. So letting go of that, it can feel like losing their core purpose, their identity even.
Even if the old way isn't working optimally.
Even then, it's a powerful force.
And what about for employees? It's not just leaders resisting, presumably?
No, definitely not. For employees, you see similar things. A fear of the unknown, certainly. Job security worries pop up. And that really critical question, what is in it for me? The Weber-IMM factor.
Yeah.
So when autonomy gets sort of mandated from above, like at Zappos, where they removed manager titles but kept things like budgeting and career paths quite centralized, you get this big mismatch between rhetoric and reality.
So saying one thing, but the underlying systems don't fully support it?
Precisely, and that leads to confusion. Often, informal hierarchies just pop right back up to fill the vacuum.
And the paradox you mentioned earlier, empowerment leading to overwhelm.
Yes, that's a huge one. We saw reports from Zappos about employees suddenly juggling like more than 25 responsibilities, just swamped.
Wow.
Or look at Buffer. They found that sudden freedom without the right structures or support was actually overwhelming for people. Performance dropped.
So empowerment without guardrails or support. It isn't really empowering at all, is it? It's just chaotic.
It can absolutely feel that way. Which brings us to a really crucial point. You need a compelling why.
The purpose.
Exactly, but not just a slogan on the wall. It needs to be a dynamic compass for this kind of evolutionary organization. And leaders absolutely have to walk the talk. Real, authentic commitment, transparency, especially being honest about what control they're willing to give up. That builds trust.
Right. That purpose acts as an anchor, maybe, against the chaos or overwhelm.
I think that's a great way to put it. And that why, that purpose, it often needs more than just the leader saying it.
You need help guiding the change.
Definitely. You need catalysts. These could be formal change managers, sure, but also those influential internal champions who really get it and can spread the word.
And here's something interesting. It doesn't always have to be this massive top-down directive, does it?
Not at all. Many of the successes actually started small.
Like Birdsorg, the Dutch home care organization.
Perfect example. They didn't start with some big corporate mandate. It grew from just 4 nurses. 4. They built these autonomous teams, proved the model worked on a human scale, and then the idea just, it rippled out.
Organically.
Yes. To eventually, 14,000 people in these self-managing teams?
That's incredible. So a phased approach.
A phased approach? Absolutely. Clear communication is vital. Comprehensive training, things like peer coaching, conflict resolution skills, that stuff is crucial.
It sounds like it's about building psychological safety, making it okay to stumble, learn, adapt.
That's it, exactly. Turning obstacles into learning moments. Look at Mexico, too. Their transparent finances, their advice process.
Remind me of the advice process.
Sure, it means anyone can make a decision, but they must seek advice first from people who'll be affected or have expertise. They don't need agreement, just the input.
Ah, okay, so builds in consultation, but maintains agility.
Right, and it shows how these principles can pay off in real terms.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening, whether you're leading a team or just, trying to navigate change at work?
I think the main takeaway is that the journey to Teal, it's less about arriving at some fixed destination. It's much more about continuous adaptation. It's a really profound internal shift, a fundamental change in how the organization thinks.
Living in control.
Exactly. Shifting from a mindset based on control to one truly rooted in trust and psychological safety.
Which raises a practical question for you listening. Maybe instead of aiming for an all-or-nothing Teal transformation, where in your part of the organization could a specific shift from control to trust yield better results? Could you pick just one arena, run a contained experiment, see what the actual data tells you before making bigger moves?
Yes, that iterative, experimental approach, focusing on tangible results, building that safety net. That feels key. That's how you unlock the potential here.
Ever wondered if there's a secret sauce for startups? How to grow massively, but without losing that initial spark, that agility, that soul.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge.
Well, today we're diving into something called the Teal Revolution. It's really challenging a lot of the standard ideas about how organizations should work.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating about Teal Frederick Laloux kind of popularized the term is that it's not just a minor take, it's a pretty profound shift.
A shift away from what?
Away from those rigid top-down hierarchies, the pyramid structure we all know, towards something much more fluid, more human-centric.
Okay. And I hear it's built on 3 core ideas, 3 pillars.
That's right, they are. Self-management, wholeness, and evolutionary purpose.
Got it. So our mission for this deep dive is really to explore why Teal isn't just like an interesting alternative theory.
Right.
But why, for modern startups especially, it might actually be a strategic imperative, a way to genuinely scale with soul and boost that natural agility they have.
Makes sense. So these pillars, how do they actually change the day-to-day? How do they work in practice?
Good question. Let's start with self-management. I think when people hear no boss, they immediately picture, well, chaos.
Right, total anarchy. But that's not it, not at all.
So what is it then?
It's really about decentralized decision-making. It's about shared responsibility and a deep trust in the team's collective intelligence. You shift from bosses to more like coaches or mentors.
Okay, coaches. And are there examples of this working at scale?
Definitely. Buurtzorg is a classic one, a Dutch home care organization. They scaled up to, believe it or not, about 1,000 autonomous, self-managed teams.
1,000 teams, wow.
Yeah, and while doing that, they achieved top-tier customer and employee satisfaction. It shows it's possible.
That's pretty compelling. Okay, so pillar 2, wholeness. This sounds a bit softer.
It can sound that way, sure, but it's about genuinely encouraging people to bring their whole selves to work, not just the professional mask.
And the benefit is?
It fosters psychological safety. When people feel safe to be authentic, creativity gets a boost. You unlock more potential because you're acknowledging the whole person, not just their job function.
Makes sense. And the third one, evolutionary purpose.
Right. This isn't about those static 5-year plans nobody looks at. It's about constant adaptation. Like the organization is always sensing and responding to its environment, discovering its purpose as it evolves.
So more like steering than following a rigid map.
Exactly. Now, here's a really key insight. These 3 pillars, they're doubly synergistic. You can't really just pick and choose.
Ah, okay. So it's not a buffet.
Not really, no. Trying to adopt just one piece, say self-management without wholeness, can actually backfire. You might get role ambiguity, maybe disengagement. It needs to be an integrated cultural transformation. All 3 need to work together.
Got it. So it's a complete system overhaul, not just tweaking the edges. And I guess that becomes super important when a startup hits those growth spurts.
Precisely, because that's often where traditional hierarchies start to really slow things down. Decisions, bottlenecks, silos form, people check out.
Yeah, we've all seen that happen.
Teal offers alternatives. Structures like flat organizations or holacracy Zappos famously tried that for a while. The goal is distributed authority to maintain agility as you grow.
Okay, but here's something that seems paradoxical. No hierarchy. Does that mean zero structure? Because that sounds like chaos again.
Right, that's the paradox of structure. It's not no structure, it's a different kind of structure, one that enables rather than controls.
What does that look like practically?
It means you still need clear roles, definitely. You need good communication systems, ways to coordinate, but they're designed to be fluid, adaptive, collaborative, not rigid command and control.
Okay, and if you have this different structure, I imagine hiring changes too. You're not just looking for someone to fill a box on an org chart.
Exactly. Recruiting for Teal shifts from fit to role more towards fit to system. You need people who are naturally independent, responsible, creative, yes, but also highly collaborative.
That sounds different. Any examples?
Well, Menlo Innovations is an interesting one. They use something called extreme interviewing. Part of it involves tests where candidates actually have to try and increase their working partner's score during the interview task.
Increase their partner's score. Wow.
Yeah, it directly tests and emphasizes collaboration right from the start. It's built into the hiring DNA.
That really shows the systemic approach. Which brings us to maybe a tricky part.
Yeah.
The founder.
Ah, yes, the founder's paradox. This is crucial. Often the very traits that help a founder get started, like intense drive, maybe tight control, a singular vision.
The hero leader archetype.
Exactly. Those are the very things they often need to learn to let go of for Teal to actually work long term.
Oof. That sounds like a massive personal challenge.
Yeah.
Moving from hero to...
What? Steward? Steward, enabler, maybe coach. It's a significant personal transformation. And honestly, without the founder embracing that shift, Teal initiatives often struggle. It's about letting go to enable something bigger collectively.
Right. Makes sense. So wrapping this up, what does this mean for you listening? Whether you're a founder, an employee, or just curious about where work is heading?
Well, the potential benefits of Teal for startups are pretty compelling. You're looking at potentially better agility, much higher employee engagement, more innovation, and hopefully more sustainable growth.
It really challenges that old idea that growth inevitably means more bureaucracy, more rigidity.
It does. The Teal journey, though, it's not really a final destination you arrive at. It's more a continuous process, constant learning, adapting, evolving.
Building a more human-centric, resilient, maybe more successful future of work.
That's the idea. It asks the question, what if scaling up could actually lead to more humanity in our organizations, not less? Something to think about.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. The workplace is definitely changing fast these days. Technology, expectations. It's a lot.
It really is. And sometimes these shifts point towards something much bigger, maybe even revolutionary.
Exactly. And today we're diving into one of those potentially big shifts, the Teal Revolution. It's a concept, really a paradigm from Frederick Laloux.
Right. And his idea is about creating work environments that aren't just productive, but also, soulful, purposeful.
So our deep dive today is all about that. How does leadership fundamentally change in these Teal organizations? And what does it actually take to make that journey?
It's a fascinating question. Lou outlines 3 core breakthroughs that define Teal. Maybe we start there.
Good idea. Okay, first breakthrough. Self-management. So think about how work gets done without the usual bosses.
Yeah, it's about peer relationships taking over from hierarchy. Authority gets distributed.
And decisions.
Yeah.
We often use something called the advice process.
That's key. Anyone can make a decision, basically, but after seeking advice from everyone who'll be meaningfully affected and from people with relevant expertise.
So it's tapping into the group's wisdom, not just the person at the top.
Precisely. It's a move from control towards trust, which leads nicely into the second breakthrough, wholeness.
Wholeness. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means encouraging people to bring their whole selves to work, not just the professional mask, your emotions, your intuition, your values. The real you.
That sounds potentially messy, but also maybe powerful.
Both, perhaps. The insight is that allowing that fullness unlocks, deeper creativity, more resilience, real engagement. It fosters safety.
Okay, makes sense. Self-management, wholeness, and the third one.
Evolutionary purpose. This one's a bit more philosophical, maybe.
How so?
It's seeing the organization not as a machine we control, but as a living system. Something with its own soul or purpose.
So instead of rigid 5-year plans.
Exactly. It's more about sensing and responding. An organization itself adapts, evolves organically. It listens for where it needs to go next.
Okay, so if you have self-managing teams, people bringing their whole selves and this evolving purpose, What happens to the leaders? What's their job?
Ah, yes. The million-dollar question, right. The traditional manager role, assigning tasks, checking work that really transforms, it becomes less about managing tasks and much more about, well, leading people.
Leading people, how?
They become sort of guardians of the organization's culture, its purpose, upholding those core values like trust and transparency.
But wait, there's a paradox here, isn't there? If people are self-managing.
Exactly. True Teal leadership isn't shown by holding on to power. It's shown by wisely distributing it, relinquishing control even.
So you lead by letting go.
In a way, yes. You become a catalyst. You inspire and enable others to lead themselves rather than being the controller.
That sounds a lot like servant leadership. Is that the connection?
Very much so. Servant leadership is kind of the philosophical underpinning. It prioritizes the needs of others, employees, customers, the community, often above the leader's own interests or short-term profits.
A big shift from traditional models.
Huge. And you see it in specific behaviors, like deep listening, really hearing people, not just planning your reply.
Okay, what else?
Empathy, actively trying to understand and accept where someone's coming from. A real commitment to the growth of people seeing their value beyond just the job they do.
And you mentioned community.
Right. Stewardship, running the organization for the greater good, thinking about its impact on society. You can see why this fits Teal so well, right? It builds the trust needed for self-management and wholeness.
Absolutely. So if servant leadership is the philosophy, how does the day-to-day management stuff get done? Like training or dealing with problems?
Yeah, that changes dramatically too. You see a lot more coaching and mentorship, but it's pervasive. It's not just an HR program.
Like built into the workflow.
Exactly. Think of it as democratizing learning and support. Lulu gives examples like FAI, where engineers actually get trained by machine operators on the factory floor.
Wow, okay. Any other examples?
Sure. Some places, like Heiligenfeld, bring in external coaches for teams to help them resolve conflicts or improve how they work together.
And peer-to-peer.
Definitely. Bertzorg, the Dutch nursing organization, uses a structured process called intervisie. Colleagues coach each other using listening and questioning to solve problems.
And individual support.
Yes, some offer individual coaching too, like RHD providing free counseling sessions, which ties back to that idea of wholeness.
So coaching isn't just nice to have development. It's actually how things operate, how people manage themselves and resolve issues.
It becomes an operational mechanism. And for new people coming in, there's often a big focus on unlearning old hierarchical habits. Sun Hydraulics, for instance, has everyone do a manufacturing tour, regardless of their role.
This all sounds amazing, but it can't be easy. What are the hurdles, especially for leaders used to being in charge?
Oh, it's a huge challenge. Probably the biggest psychological hurdle is letting go of control. It feels risky. It bumps up against that illusion of control bias we all have.
And it challenges the whole idea of the strong leader who has all the answers, right?
Yeah.
It requires vulnerability.
Immense vulnerability. And then there are practical things. People resisting the change, the initial ambiguity. Remember Zappos had some turnover when they went holacracy? Accountability can feel a bit foggy at first, if not set up right.
So it's not just chaos then. No structure.
No, definitely not chaos. It's more like structured freedom.
Yeah.
You need clear ground rules, really transparent information like open financials, and strong peer feedback systems.
So how do organizations actually navigate this? What helps them succeed?
Well, first and foremost, actively cultivating trust and transparency.
Yeah.
Defaulting to assuming positive intent, making information open.
And leadership.
Leaders have to lead by example. They need to embody the principles, show vulnerability, empower those internal champions who really get it.
And it's not a one-time switch, I imagine.
Not at all. It has to be iterative implementation, continuous learning. Treat it like an ongoing experiment. Start small, maybe. Make data visible. Train people in giving and receiving feedback before you dismantle old structures.
Psychological safety seems crucial here, too.
Absolutely critical. People need to feel safe, to speak up, to experiment, to be themselves. And they need pretty advanced relational skills for self-management to work well.
It really sounds like a fundamental rethinking of power, of purpose, of how humans can organize effectively.
It is. The Teal Revolution points towards potentially much more human-centered, resilient, and frankly, effective ways of working together. Leadership becomes service, catalysis. Coaching becomes the norm.
Empowering individuals,
Yeah.
enabling the collective. So here's something to think about as we wrap up. Given this shift, this move from control to deep trust, what personal beliefs or assumptions might you need to re-examine to really embrace this kind of human-centered vision, not just at work, maybe even in life? You know that feeling, where you show up for work, bring your skills, your brain, but you kind of leave the rest of you, the messy human part, at the door. It's this weird modern workplace thing, and that quiet resistance to change leaders sometimes feel.
Yeah, it's often linked. So today, we're doing a deep dive into Teal workplaces. It's a really different way of looking at organizations. We're focusing on self-management, purpose, and this key idea of wholeness and how places actually navigate the resistance people naturally feel. Okay, let's get into it.
Exactly. And you've given us some great sources looking at how these teal organizations try to build environments where people don't just, do their jobs, but actually thrive, bring their whole selves. So our mission today is to pull out the key insights for you, the practical stuff on how these big shifts happen, even with all the, the fear that comes with change. Okay, so wholeness. What is that, really? In a teal context, it sounds a bit buzzwordy sometimes. But it's more, right? It's like an invitation to bring everything, emotions, intuition, creativity, maybe even your spiritual side, whatever that means for you,
Yeah.
into your work, which is such a contrast to that typical professional mask we're all told to wear. But what makes that even possible? What's the absolute foundation?
Yeah, that's the crucial question. And the bedrock absolutely is psychological safety. Without that foundation, people just won't risk it. They'll self-censor. They won't give honest feedback. They certainly won't admit mistakes easily. Amy Edmondson at Harvard, her research really nails this. It's critical for high-performing teams. People need to feel safe taking risks, interpersonal risks, without fearing they'll be punished or humiliated. So yeah, can wholeness even exist without that safety net? Probably not.
Makes sense. And once that safety is there, the benefits seem pretty dramatic. These teal places report way less burnout, much higher well-being. And it's not just like slapping on a wellness program. It seems like they're fundamentally changing work itself to build well-being in, tackling things like lack of control, feeling like a tiny cog, by giving people real autonomy and a sense of purpose.
Oh, definitely. And a really great example you pointed to is Patagonia. Their whole environmental activism thing, it's not just slick marketing, is it? It's like deep in their culture. And that strong evolutionary purpose, it pulls in people whose personal values just click with the companies. That drives huge engagement, huge loyalty. It shows purpose isn't just nice to have ethics. It's actually a powerful strategic advantage.
That sounds amazing, honestly, especially for connection. But the big question I always hear, and I bet you do too, is does it scale? Can this very human-centric approach really work when you've got thousands of employees?
Right, the scalability question. And that's where Buurtzorg comes in, that Dutch home healthcare organization. It's a fascinating case study. They've managed to scale wholeness and self-management to thousands of nurses. It proves it's possible, on a large scale. Their model is quite clever. Small teams, maybe 10, 12 nurses, and they manage everything themselves: scheduling, patient care, conflicts. And they have this incredibly lean central support staff, like 50 people for thousands of nurses. The results are just, wow. Better cost efficiency, patients are happier, nurses stick around longer. It kind of blows up that old idea that you have to trade off efficiency for, being human at work.
Okay, so it works, it can scale.
Uh-huh.
What's stopping everyone then? If the benefits are so clear, it sounds like the main obstacle isn't really the teal system itself. It's us, our human baggage, that discomfort with letting go of the old ways, the fear of losing control, maybe losing clarity.
Exactly. That's often the sticking point. And successful teal transitions, from what we see in the sources, they don't usually do a big bang overnight change. It's more about gradual experiments. Leaders need to shift their whole style, more coaching, more serving the teams, empowering them. And they use specific tools, like the advice process. You've heard of that. Anyone can make a decision, basically, as long as they've sought advice from people affected and experts. It's not just about pushing decisions down, it's about tapping into the collective intelligence, It tackles that fear of losing control head on by distributing authority smartly. Plus, really intentionally onboarding new people into this different way of working helps reduce resistance from the get-go.
And thinking ahead,
Yeah.
it feels like these teal ideas, trust, autonomy, are almost perfectly built for hybrid work, right? And AI. Is that a threat or?
Actually, AI looks like a huge enabler for Teal. The idea is AI takes over the routine, predictable tasks. That frees up humans for the stuff AI can't do, the creative thinking, the empathy, the complex problem solving, connecting to purpose, which is exactly the kind of work that thrives when people feel whole and engaged.
So bringing it all together,
Hmm.
what's the main takeaway for someone listening?
Well, I think it's that wholeness isn't just some fluffy, abstract ideal. It's a practical approach to building organizations that are more engaging, more adaptive, more resilient. But you absolutely have to address the human side, the resistance, the fear. Building trust and taking gradual steps are key. It's not magic, it's intentional work.
And maybe for your own work, even if you're not in a Teal organization, think about this. What's one small thing you could do? Like, what if you just tried fostering a bit more psychological safety in your immediate team? Maybe start a Failure Friday chat or a quick lessons learned session where talking about mistakes is okay, even encouraged. It's a small step towards wholeness. Could unlock more trust, more contribution than you think. We've definitely just scratched the surface here. If you want to go deeper, Frederick Laloux's book, Reinventing Organizations, is kind of the foundational text.
And definitely join us next time. We'll be diving into something really interesting, the surprising financial side of Teal. How these very human-centric ways of working are often leading to better financial results. Okay, so you know that feeling, right? That workplace frustration.
Oh, yeah.
Endless approvals, these sort of bureaucratic loops. Good ideas just seem to vanish sometimes.
Like they hit a brick wall.
Exactly. It feels like the system itself just slows down innovation, but well, imagine a completely different setup.
Yeah.
An organization where decisions happen fast, innovation actually thrives, and, everyone feels genuinely empowered. Okay, let's try and unpack this a bit.
Let's do it. So today we're diving deep into what are often called Teal principles. It's, really a newer way of thinking about how organizations can work.
Moving beyond the old pyramid structure.
Right, towards systems that are more conscious, more purpose-driven. And our focus today is specifically on one really core idea, self-management.
Okay.
I want to stress, this isn't simply, no bosses. That's kind of a caricature. It's much deeper.
How so?
It's a fundamental redistribution of power, of authority, and decision-making. The whole idea is to unlock that collective potential that often gets stifled.
Right, so it's not just, okay, you handle this task. It sounds like individuals and teams actually have the authority baked in, for decisions about their own work.
Exactly. They inherently possess it.
And how does that drive accountability, especially compared to the old way, the sort of predict and control thing?
Yeah, that's the key question. And the fascinating part is how it functions practically. It's not just theory. It uses specific, quite robust operational mechanisms.
Okay, like what?
Well, a big one is the advice process.
Mm-hmm.
This means anyone, literally anyone, can make a decision after they've consulted two groups.
Yeah.
People who will be significantly affected and people with relevant expertise.
Ah, okay. So consultation, but not necessarily consensus or approval.
Precisely. You don't need your boss's okay. You gather the advice, you seriously consider it, and then you make the call. It flips the power dynamic.
That seems faster. Decisions made closer to the action.
Often, yes.
Hmm.
And usually better informed. And to make this kind of distributed authority work smoothly, you often see frameworks like holacracy or sociocracy being used.
Right, I've heard those terms.
They provide the structure, the sort of rules of the game for self-management. Think fluid roles,
Yeah.
clear accountabilities, radical transparency, that sort of thing.
Okay, so those are the mechanics, the how. But what's underpinning all of that? It feels like trust must be huge here. And maybe feeling safe.
Absolutely critical. You nailed it.
Yeah.
These mechanisms, they're built on a foundation, a bedrock of trust and psychological safety.
Right.
Meaning a culture where people genuinely feel safe. Safe to speak up, safe to try things, maybe even make mistakes without fear of blame or punishment.
That sounds healthier.
It is. And it also encourages people to bring their whole selves to work, not just a professional mask, but intuition, creativity, personality.
Okay, the benefits sound amazing. Increased engagement, faster decisions, more innovation. But are there real-world examples? Does this actually work at scale?
Definitely. Look at Buurtzorg in the Netherlands. It's a home healthcare organization. They use self-managing nurse teams.
And the results?
Higher patient satisfaction, believe it or not, and lower costs. Pretty remarkable. Or Morningstar. the big tomato processor in California.
What do they do differently?
They're famous for having employees define their own roles and responsibilities through something called Colleague Letters of Understanding, CLOUs, essentially agreements they make with each other.
Wow. Okay, that sounds liberating. But let's be real, this can't be easy to transition to. What are the big hurdles? I imagine managers might feel like they're losing power.
That's a major one, yes. The fear of losing control or status is very real for traditional managers. And honestly, the mindset shift required from everyone, moving from dependency to proactive ownership, it's profound. It's not a small ask.
Yeah, I can see that. So how do organizations actually manage that change?
It takes conscious effort. Leadership has to shift fundamentally from directing and controlling to coaching, mentoring, and really stewarding the culture. Modeling the new behaviors is key.
And what guides everyone if there isn't that top-down direction?
A clear, shared evolutionary purpose. That becomes the North Star. It helps align all these autonomous decisions without needing constant directives. Plus, you absolutely need to invest in training for new skills, conflict resolution, giving and receiving feedback effectively, things like that.
Right. Okay, so for someone listening, maybe their company isn't fully Teal, whatever that means exactly, but what can you take away from this? Can you apply these ideas?
Absolutely, even in a traditional setting.
How? Like, what steps?
Well, first, start small, but think big. Could you maybe experiment with the advice process for just one decision in your area of responsibility? See how it feels.
Okay, a small experiment. What else?
Second, cultivate trust and psychological safety, at least within your immediate team or sphere of influence. Actively work to create an environment where people feel safe, being authentic, speaking up, taking some initiative.
Makes sense. Build that foundation.
And third, focus on purpose. Try to get clear on your own sense of purpose at work and how it connects to the bigger picture, the organization's mission. Let that purpose guide your actions, especially when you have autonomy.
So start small, build trust, connect to purpose. Got it.
At the end of the day, self-management isn't just a trend. It feels like a really profound, maybe even necessary shift. It's a strategic response, really, to the complexity we're all dealing with.
More adaptable, more resilient.
Exactly. And much more human-centric organizations.
Okay, so here's something to think about. What new possibilities really could open up for you and your work if you truly started embracing these principles? Trust, autonomy, what could change?
It's a powerful question.
Definitely something to ponder. And next time on the deep dive, we'll explore another one of these core Teal ideas, evolutionary purpose. How organizations find and really align with their deeper reason for being.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.